Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. Thank you so very much for being here. So, I want to take a look at the energies this coming week. So, we have Trump still on trial. We have the all of the indictments that got handed down in Arizona. We have the White House's correspondence dinner, which is sort of not a public thing, but Biden made some really good shots at Trump. So, of course, Trump had to go on about how, it was a bomb and it was a disaster and everything. It wasn't actually. In fact, Joe delivered some good lines. So, what we have is this weird kind of dichotomy. You have, on the one hand, a president who is currently in office, who is out there campaigning. He's doing the work of the presidency. He's doing what he's supposed to. Then you have an ex-president who is running to be president, who is you only see him in and out of the courtroom. My understanding is he was not doing any campaigning this past weekend. The scuttlebutt is because he can't afford to. There's no money to actually hold rallies. And, you've got him going in and out of courtrooms. You've got him not campaigning. And, but for some reason, the messaging doesn't seem to be getting out there the way it should be or it needs to. Or is it? That's what I want to take a look at because you look at these polls and they're, oh my goodness, they're neck and neck. How can they be neck and neck? You've got like such different visuals, but yet for whatever reason, the message of the success of Biden's presidency is not getting through. And so, or it appears to not be getting through. Let me say it that way. So let's take a look. I'm obviously going to be channeling this because I want to skip. I want to skip around a couple of topics and see what's sort of going to be in our focus and our attention this week. Okay, so first of all, there's going to be, thank you, there's going to be sort of continued muttering and mumbling about the Supreme Court and the hearing or whatever it's called on that presidential immunity. So as near as anybody can figure, sort of nobody's going to go for the blanket immunity. That apparently is dead in the water. But what the concern is that they're going to try to carve out a sort of, okay, well, that's an official act and that's not an official act. And so he can't be, he has immunity for official acts while in office, but not for private acts while in office. And then there's going to be the whole big thing about, well, was that a private act or was that an official act? And so that's going to continue. Now, I'm being told that it is going to be a 5-4 decision for or against, I'll say it that way, Donald Trump. Okay. So, yeah, there's probably going to be some limited immunity somewhere, but overall, he's not going to get kind of, the result he wanted, except we have to remember that the result he wanted was sort of delaying the trial, right? And so far that's been incredibly effective for him. But you're going to continue to hear rumblings and mumblings because you didn't have to pay a lot of attention to that hearing to understand that Alito, Thomas, and Gorsuch really were like sort of all in. They say, yeah, just give whatever you want. And so you've got that kind of energy going on in your Supreme Court. This is something that's going to need to get addressed at some point and somehow. And make no mistake, Joe Biden is very, very well aware of the damage that is being done. He is not oblivious to it. He is aware. He did have this was months and months ago. They talked, in fact, shortly after he was elected, they talked about he set up a committee to figure out, what to do with the Supreme Court. And apparently at that point in time, the committee said, just leave it be. Don't Don't try to flood the court. Don't just let it be. And so I don't know that that advice still stands. So, but that is being reviewed and looked at. Now, I have to say, the overall strategy right now seems to be let the Supreme Court do what the Supreme Court's going to do, and then in the new term, balance that Supreme Court if it does not self-balance somehow before now and November. So if somebody leaves or for whatever reason isn't available, then you could get another sort of sane justice in there. I mean, it's not even red and white anymore. It's just like, are you insane or not? Um, are you of this world in this time frame or are you not? I mean, any case. So now I still see the loss of at least one justice before November. Um, but this is the dang thing about that. You've got that free will component. And much like Mitch McConnell, who's just determined to die on the Senate floor, he's not going anywhere. I mean, I don't know how many of us have said he's not long for this world. His health is really bad. Doesn't seem to matter. He just keeps going. I've come to the conclusion that in a lot of ways, politicians are like cockroaches. They, well, first of all, they vanish, when the light comes on, but that isn't it. It's that they are the only things around, I think, that actually could survive an apocalypse. Like, it is amazing to me that some of these people just keep going and going and going. So in the new term, I can definitely see that Supreme Court getting reworked. I can also see in 25 and 26, it looks like Sheldon Whitehouse's sort of mission to sort out and create a level playing field for the Supreme Court. It looks like that's going to really, really pick up steam and go forward. 25 and 26 is when you're really, really going to see kind of an end of the hearings and the beginning of the implementation. All right. So that's definitely something to look forward to. Anyways, as I started to say, I don't know if I finished my sentence. So right now, kind of the thinking is let the Supreme Court do what the Supreme Court's going to do. And then in the new term, fix it, because there is an awareness that there would be crazy hysterics if all of a sudden the courts got flooded with two more justices, which of course Biden's well within his rights to do, but it would create such a bad optic. And to be fair, even though no one understands it, right now Joe Biden needs to be careful about the optics because his message isn't getting out the way it should be. And so he needs to be mindful to not do stuff that actually makes it look like, he's desperate or he's really trying to put his thumb on the scale. So expect that kind of going on this week. Now, as for Trump and that trial, what I'm seeing is a few witnesses, but some of them for sort of very short durations, like a couple of hours of testimony, and they're done. But I'm seeing 3 or 4 people at least moving through that process of being witnesses this coming week. I think we're going to see more of the former guy being agitated, right? You're going to see more examples of him displaying his frustration and anger at his lawyers. There's going to be more huffing and puffing and that going on. It's not going to serve him. And this is the thing, it's going to really aggravate Judge Marchand. But that's not where it's going to cause the biggest problem. The biggest problem is it's going to be caused and created with the jurors who are looking at him. And they're like, for God's sakes, The average 4-year-old can sit down and be still in a chair without causing a ruckus, and apparently you can't. So it's not going to look good. They're going to view it as being incredibly disrespectful to the witnesses, to the court, to the judge, to themselves. So his behavior, you're going to see it sort of incrementally creeping up. And it's well known, right, that his lawyers cannot keep him under control. So it's a very hard thing to try to say, okay, well, we're gonna, yeah, judge, we can keep him under control. In fact, when they tried to say that, the judge basically said, you're lying, you can't. So that's what I see going on there for that court case. Just continued agitation, witnesses that continue to build on the story, continue to expand the awareness and the understanding of not only what went on with the National Enquirer and how that whole thing evolved, but really kind of Trump's behavior, in terms of micromanaging stuff, always knowing what was going on. You know, that that's going to be a part of it, because he can't then plead innocence and I didn't know when everybody says, yeah, this guy had his finger in every single pie, he wouldn't take it out, right? I mean, just so there's that. Looks like Joe Biden is going to continue to do well. I can see some strategic campaign stops, both for him and for Vice President Harris. It looks like she's going to be quite busy. There's going to be, in the next couple of weeks, this coming week and next, it looks like there's going to be sort of something's going to happen that's going to re-trigger the abortion debate and put it back right in the front news. And unfortunately, I suspect that what's going to happen is there going to somewhere or another be a tragedy that, forces that issue right back front and center. And, make no mistake, that is going to be, what continues to fire up women. And make no mistake, it's not only, the older women who have had this right all of their reproductive lives, it's the younger ones who are starting to kind of twig in to the ramifications of some of this stuff and going, wait a minute, you know what? I'm 22. What if I get pregnant? I have a bad pregnancy. And because of the way these doctors are restricted, like I lose my ability to have children. Those kinds of things are going to start really, really hitting home. And there's going to be an impact from that. So you can see that increasing. Why are you showing me Ukraine? What are you telling me about Ukraine? Okay, so literally what they just said to me is Ukraine is going to have, wind in their sails, the wind at their back. So it feels as if there's going to be some gains or successes made by Ukraine over, the next week, 10 days kind of thing. I don't know whether this has to do with an influx of the equipment that they're getting or the supplies they're getting from the States, or what else is going on, but it definitely feels like they have some success. I'm getting like they hit their targets. They're hitting their targets. And so that is really, really, really good news. Um, it's interesting, but Putin's energy is very, very quiet. It's very still, which is really unusual. Um, so I'm not sure what that's about. I don't know whether he just chooses to not react kind of in a big way, like react on television or whatever. I'm not sure what that's about, but for some reason I'm not drawing him into the picture. He is alive, and I'm not even getting that he's sick. I can't find him, sort of, if that makes sense to you. Um, okay, so what else is there? Um, hmm. Yeah, you know what? That's kind of what I'm getting, those sort of areas that I've touched on. Now, there's another message that they want me to pass on. It has to do with how we manifest, how we draw things into our life, into our world. So, the first thing that you have to realize, remember, and never ever forget is that you are manifesting every minute of your life, whether you realize it or not. You're manifesting with your emotions, you are manifesting with your thoughts, and you are manifesting with your words and actions. So, what we have is a lot of people, they manifest by default, right? I don't know what to do in this situation. I'm not going to do anything. And then I guess whatever happened, happened. It's like there's a lot of that going on. There's also a lot of, um, I'm pretty sure I'm thinking positive thoughts because I've got a whole list of everything I do not want to happen. And so what they're doing is they're attaching fear energy to the manifestation, which of course amplifies the fear. All right. So when we're wanting to manifest something, it is about achieving a state of expectant confidence, confident expectation. Okay. It's sort of my phrase for how you manifest. It's that you achieve a state where you are simply confident that what you are drawing into your life, not trying, but you are drawing towards you, is simply going to arrive in the means and manner that is best suited for the situation. You know, a lot of us like to try to direct how things are going to be manifested in our life. And sometimes we can, but a lot of times we really can't. And at some point, you have to sort of just trust that the universe, the divine, the source can very often have a far better idea of what's actually going to work for us than we have. All right, because a different perspective, a different viewpoint, one that is certainly much bigger and much broader, and doesn't get caught up in the fear and the anxiety of kind of day to day life. So, this is an example I like to use for anybody who's ever had a private reading with me. Oh, and by the way, for those, I am booking mid May. Um, Anybody who's ever had a private reading for me and has had manifestation come up is going to know this story. So, I'm going to do it really fast. How do you manifest something? Okay, well, so you're hungry. You go into a restaurant, you sit down. The server comes over and asks you what you want. You tell her. She walks away. He walks away, whoever. You sit at the table in confident expectation. So, what's going on? You're thinking, God, am I ever hungry? It's going to really taste good. I'm really looking forward to my lunch. I really like the way they make that salad here, and I'm going to really enjoy it. That's what goes on. You don't follow the server to tell her, to make sure she gets you the right beverage. You don't go into the kitchen and tell the chef how to cook. You sit in confident expectation. You're not anxious. You're not worried. You're not stressed out. You're simply completely trusting that what it is you are wanting to create is going to be created and presented for you. That's how you manifest. All right. You you visualize it, you feel it, you embrace it, and then you let it go. And you trust that that which needs to unfold is going to unfold. I've also said this a lot. If for some reason the universe just doesn't seem to hear um, negative words, okay? So when you say things like, I don't want, what gets sort of removed is the don't, and what you end up with is I want. So when you're setting up manifestation, you're thinking about it, your thoughts are always not in the future, but now. What I see. is on its way to me. What I have asked is arriving for me. All right. And don't then start trying to put a timeline on it. Just arriving is like good enough. Um, it's important that you remember that it is the emotions, it is the thoughts, it is the words that actually create the reality of your life. And so if you're looking around at your life and you're not happy, then you have the absolute power to change the things that make you unhappy. And I know that for a lot of people, it's like, well, that's really easy for you to say. But if you were living in my shoes, I promise you, everybody has shoes that are uncomfortable sometimes. Everybody has shoes that are tight sometimes. But when you get to a place where you believe you have no options, promise you, you have no options because that has become the foundation of your belief. So as we move forward, it's going to be really, really important that, this applies to all of our lives, but right now we're talking about politics. So it's really important as we go forward that you hold the positive intention. Joe Biden's going to, Joe Biden will win the election. Joe Biden has that second term. Joe Biden's going to be incredibly productive from now to then. Joe Biden's, popularity continues to rise. People see the good he has done. Whatever it is, hold those positive thoughts and intentions because that's what's going to be successful. And it is successful one-on-one. It is successful in a group situation. It is successful for politics. So, and I don't mean to, kind of bring everybody down, but one of the things that Trump is really successful at is manifesting. Why is that? Because he refuses to see any reality that he doesn't like. Now, that can be a not a very good thing sometimes. But when it comes to manifesting, it's a really powerful tool. Okay, that's what I know. Please do not forget to put any questions you have for Pendulum Friday in the comment section below. If you're looking for a private reading, soulprint888@gmail.com. Just send me out an email. I'll send you the information you need. And my other channel is called Soulprint Insights. If there's not, I'm going to make sure that I get the link put in the show notes below, but I think it's in there already. But I will double check that. Okay, so that's what I know. Have a really good day. Enjoy your week. And, let stuff roll off your back. Don't get attached to stuff. Let it just, let it be. Let it just keep on rolling off your back. It's a much easier and far less stressful way to live. Until next time, take really good care. I'll see you soon. Be well. Bye-bye.